let's dive right into top 8, and we do have a Murakumo Mirror, but we are not seeing two Yasuis, or rather, not two pure Yasuis. We have a Yasui Hyuga mix against the Zanpaku here, which actually made top 8 in this tournament. Very interesting, he does go first in this game, rides the Great Signature, and does hit the new Dueling Dragon. And he does discard the new Dueling Dragon. So what this new Dueling Dragon does is actually when you can, once per turn, you can actually eat 1 damage and you superior call 2 arresters from deck. So no damage denying, which was a problem for Zanpaku back then. And on a Vanguard circle, it does give your arresters 5k. Okay, we do see the Yasui Hyuga deck player not opting to get the one night, which he actually searched through the top 5. Very interesting play. Actually, from his deck list, he actually just run 2 one-eyed. So it's a very interesting mix, I would say. And we do see a lot of great shit options for him. We do see Yasui Tenma and a Musashi. Does he wants to aim for the Yasui only? It seems like he does. So he just shuffle his decks like this. But because both are on the field, both are hitting for 13k. Since there are two same names on the field, he does eat it. Just check into a great one, Takihime, which he would have wanted it to ride previously, but you know, just cut fight things. He does eat 2 damage here, and we do see 1 Zanpaku and 1 Arrestor going down. He does try to the Arrestor there, and then swinging like this. So the problem with Arrestor is, or rather Zanpaku deck list, is always been like this, whereby their Great 2 turn is always weaker. Their Great 2 turn only consists of you just riding and then just calling a Red to swing counter aggro. And unfortunate for the Yasui Hyuga player here, his deck list does run a bit more Great 3s, and he's not able to aggro better in his turn to punish the Zanpaku player, which is playing quite passively here. But we now shall see him riding into the Great 3 here, which is when Dueling Dragon does get annoying. He does ride to the Zanpaku here to gaining XL2. So Zanpaku has always been a notorious deck back then, which he actually can prevent restands. Sorry, not riding and making the Vanguard stun basically. So, but the whole total cost is actually 3 counter blasts. But with the new Daba Dueling Dragon, you actually won't get damage denied as much as before. So he does use the Awazu skill there to mute the Arrestor. Now it becomes Arrestor there. And what's important to point out, it does synergize with the Ground Arrestor behind, because the Ground Arrestor only is able to boost left and right Arrestors. And once you boost them, you actually can gain plus 10k and then so charging 1. So just for the name there, and he does play Awazu mainly to mute Shirayuki, because he does play the Rainy Madam and the Shirayuki package. And you can't deny Shirayuki is just such a good card in a Murakumo deck. So he does use the skill of Zanpaku to actually find the Central Arrestor there. And do take note, Central Arrestor does gain power if your Vanguard is doing Dragon. It's an infamous card tag in Hyuga before, and it's always been swinging for a cheap amount of 14k or 24k max. But in a pure Dueling Dragon as seen here, it's going to hit for easy 29k, and it's going to be such a painful card to deal with. So he does actually use double upgrade 3 there and eating 1 damage and superior calling 2 arrestor, and we do see the perfect field on just turn 3. Full field is always an issue for Zanpaku back then, because they have to hard commit their cards in hand. But with this new great double R, you can actually create power columns just like that. So seeing the Zanpaku like that, which is 17k, gets a draw trigger here. Very fortunate for him. Most likely he's gonna pump to the back row. No, actually pumps one of the arresters there. And both columns are gonna hit very hard. So he does swing with the central arrestor there, which is 29k power. He does get a damage draw trigger there, which will help him to aggro better. I mean, defend this turn better. And that column is swinging for 34k. No, 32k if I'm not wrong. And this column is swinging from 37k. Look at all those numbers that I'm just dishing out right there. It's so huge, and you see the force PG drop there, and the Yasui Hyuga doesn't seem to be in a good position right now. Currently he's at 4. What will he be riding here? He does right into the Hyuga here, but without any Grade 3 insoles, he can't button deck the Arrestor field, which is going to be very painful if he actually does achieve that. So he calls a Grade 3 Surger there, still deciding. Yep, so he commits it finally and searching the top 5. Not too sure what he's hoping to hit here, and doesn't hit anything this time, then shuffles the deck. The first 2 times he does hit the Grade 3s, but he doesn't opt to even use the effect. I mean, doesn't even opt to actually take the Grade 3 back to hand. So he does copy the Grade 2, I mean targeting the Grade 2, or sorry, using the Shiryuki to actually target the 3 units there. And then using Hyuga's skill, most likely to go for the Musashi there. But okay, because Hyuga does change everything to the same name, One Eye will still proc this turn. But a fairly interesting play by him, given that both Takehime on the back row doesn't have any power big gain at all, or doesn't have any much purpose, to be honest, because you're not going to be super riding into a Yasui here. But interesting that list by him. He actually made top 8 with this, so congrats to him still. He does force a PG out here. Twin drive into a front. Very interesting. And given that Zanbaku player is actually already at 3 damage, he can't afford to no guard these 3 oncoming attacks. So this will be just a 20k guard here. And the Musashi will be hitting for... Actually, in fact, the Musashi is not even having its effect to be proc. Given the fact that you need to have more units than your opponent. So actually that's the problem with Musashi, in my opinion, for Mura, is that if you do happen to find the mirror, like for example here, your effects will not be fully activated because it's very hard to have more units than your opponent unless you do play Tenma. But Tenma does kill himself after end of battle, so yeah, Musashi isn't exactly the best card for Mura unless you are high rolling it in the early turn, or rather just going first. So most likely the Zanbaku player will be guarding against the Shiryuki here, and then eating the damage against the Musashi, since now he does have more rear than him, given that he does intercept. Yeah, he does, but actually eats a heal there, but doesn't proc. Given that actually the Yasui plays already at 5 damage, my apologies there. So it's his turn, but he does have 4 open counter blasts, and this could be the most painful turn for the Yasui player. Or rather the Hyuga player here. Oh, actually he does ride to the Zangeki there. So Zangeki is or rather I would say, a lost card in the meta. This card actually hits quite hard because the effect is, as long as you have a Dueling Dragon in Soul, all your opponent can guard with is Grade 0s, and that includes Protect Marker is going to get nullified. So in this Protect heavy meta now, you actually denying their Protect Markers and forcing them to only throw Grade 0 shields. And then because of Zakeki's skill here, you have left and right arrestor, he does gain the 5k and the critical there. And given that the guy is already at 5 damage there, he needs to throw here 5 Grade 0s, or rather 6 because the central arrestor behind. It doesn't look good at all. So the Hyuga player here is trying to consider how he's gonna guard this, but most likely he does have to eat a heal trigger here to guard properly. But as you can see, the both side columns with the Grade 1 and Grade 2 arresters are hitting for 32k each, which is 25k guard. Yikes, that's not fun at all actually. And having to ask for 25k guard with only Grade 0s only is effectively asking for easily 30k shields, since you most likely have to throw 215ks. He does open a crit here, but the Kanzen does save him. He opened a double crit here, bumping to both the side, and most likely this is it. He swings the 5k first and he eats the 6 damage and it's over. So that's just game 1 concluded. Now we go to game 2, and the Yasui player actually does right to the Takehime here. Will he hit the Yasui here? He does actually hit the VR here. So that's the best card you could ask for. Given that his deck does play almost every grid 3 possible for Mura, so but Yasui is still the foundation of the deck, and hitting it there must feel good. So you do see him riding to the Rainy Madam here, which I mentioned earlier. He does play the Shirayuki package with the Awazu. Since the Vanguard like this, Twin Drive, Try checks into a Zangeki there, and not to mention actually a SDR Zangeki. This guy has been balling, man. So actually he swings to the Vanguard like this, just boosting with the Takehime. A 20k will be a no pass here, but most likely it's going to be a no guard. Oh, he actually throws a guard here, which is no pass. Try check into a Hyuga there. But most likely he won't be riding the Hyuga anytime soon unless he does have a second turn. So we do see him riding the Arrestor there, just swinging like this, but no guards there, effectively pushing him to 2 damage, and now the current board situation is 2-0. So he does ride to the Yasui here. Will he be able to actually explode like a normal Yasui deck? Because given that he does have Takehime in the drop zone and he does have 2 1-eyed, but sadly his deck is only run 2, so he's not able to clone more of the 1-eyed, but we can see the Musashi doing work here. Given that you're going first, the opponent usually don't commit any cards until they're grade 3, so the Musashi is going to be a pain in the ass right here. So it does clone the Musashi and the VR, if I'm not wrong. So it actually targets the VR here, but it hits magic number, which is the 24k boosted by the 1-eye, so it's actually still a 20k guard, quite a formidable lane. Swings with the Vanguard like this, boosted actually. Twin drives into a Tenma here, which he might actually need it. He does drop one of Tenma and one of the Hyuga here, so you're gonna Superior right into the Yasui Tenma here, gaining an Excel Circle to draw 1, but sadly he doesn't have any card to clone with the Takehime skill, which is quite unfortunate. So he does no guard here again, and try check Ace into a huge trigger here, but doesn't pop off once again, but he's gonna get onslaughted by the rest of the rear guards, especially Musashi. Musashi does make it feel that you have to eat the damage regardless, unless you're willing to drop your resources in the hand. So he does eat another damage, hoping to hit a damage trigger here. He does throw the quick shield there, which kind of nullifies Musashi. And now he has to guard this final Musashi attack, which is a 10k guard. He does eat it, most likely, and he eats to 4 damage right here. Very good push from the Yasui player here, and we do see Musashi doing a lot of work. Now he rides from the Zanbaku here, and he does have 4 counter blasts to work with, so most likely he's going to go for the, I would say, counter blast 3 lock. So he does commit the left arrestor here, so he does have all the pieces already. But the problem is he's currently at 4 damage, and there's a potential third ride. Also, sorry, actually he can't even ride at all, but there's still 2 Musashi to deal with, and Zanbaku doesn't have any way to deal with it directly, unlike the Tenma player there. Unlike Tenma, or rather Hyuga. So he does commit the skill here, so most likely he's going to counter blast 2 as well, and using the right arrestor skill to permanent stun the Vanguard, giving him, I would say, a breathing window there. So he does put another Zanbaku from hand to soul, and calling the central arrestor there, which I can't stress enough is such a good card, because it just essentially makes you feel that you have an Excel Circle to work with. So most likely he's going to be clearing the Musashi here, but he still had to push the damage, so he actually just go for the Vanguard here, which is a 5k guard right here. He does eat to a no damage trigger. Vanguard will be swinging against the Vanguard. Since he does play crit, a double crit would have ended the game. Yep, so actually I think he reconsidered to actually hit the Musashi there, but he still swing for the Vanguard, twin driving into a double grade 3 double. That's not what you want to see. You do want to see heal against the Musashi, but you don't. This feels bad, man. So now he'll be swinging the arrestor most likely at the Musashi here. Yes, he does, which is a 5k guard. He actually lets it go so fast. But actually replace it. So now he's actually considering the effect for the Tenma skill. So actually it's actually we are able to clone the Musashi there. So actually let's want all the Musashi to go away. But now he has to clear the other Musashi, which he does, and he actually let it go as well. Wow, this guy is just letting everything go. I think the correct play might be just to guard the Musashi, since the opponent is giving obvious signs that he's struggling against the Musashi, and as you can see, he actually does have shields to guard with. So unless he does have a Musashi in hand or not, actually I feel that that's a very awkward play by him. So actually uses a Spellhound there and copying the Vanguard power, so it's actually a 12k power. And something to take note, interesting mechanic between Spellhound and the Excel Circle is that it won't gain the 5k power, as awkward as it seems, because Spellhound does stay the same power as the Vanguard upon effect. So actually he uses the Tenma skill to clone the Yasui there. So yeah, this is very weird. I would have assumed that he would have gathered the Musashi there and then cloning the Musashi back. You are able to let one go, but you don't let two of them go. And given that the Zanpaku player actually twin drive a double grade 3 blank there, a Musashi is such an annoying card. But I could be wrong too, because he actually had to fill the board completely to use the Musashi effect actually, since the Zanpaku player actually have quite a stack fill. So he does swing the Vanguard like this, which is a 5k guard. Very annoying because he does gain the same power as the Tenma there. How will the Zanpaku actually guard here? Will he eat the damage first? Or will he use the 3 intercept that he does have on the field? Yep, so he'll be using the intercept there, another 12k, 5k guard swing. And using the intercept once again, another 5k, another intercept goes away, and the Kanzen was used there, damn. Okay, he doesn't have a 10k string in hand at all. And just how he actually proceeds for the Zanpaku here. Rise to the Zangeki here, but opening is currently at 3 damage, and this might not be the lethal as we've seen in the previous game. And he does need to have the right cards. Oh, actually, he does have the Grade 3 Dueling Dragon here. No wonder he got so aggressively. So actually can use the skill here. But will it be paid off? And that's the problem with that. Because you're actually going to 5 damage against Yasui. And if he does survive, you are going to face the consequences of having to deal with all their attacks. So he does use the skill, most likely going for the left and right arrestor here. So a double left arrestor play, because left arresters have the skill of on attack, you can actually Soul Blast on and plus 5k. This is quite important. And we do see a central arrestor at the back row. This could be a potential comeback game for the Zanpaku here actually. So actually he rethinks it. Most likely gonna call the great. Wow. Actually calls the right arrestor there instead. Okay. Calls the Zanpaku there. And because of the right arrestor actually, I forgot, actually give the Zangeki the skill of critical trigger. So he's forced to guard here and then 2 dry once again. Not the most fortunate here, but he just continued to swing like this. Then he got immediately by the Yasui player, sorry. And he throws shields because he has to guard for 3 more attacks. It's a front there, and then the central arrestor, and leaving the basically 2 more attacks to end this turn. It's the last damage here. Will it be over? Most likely a PG will be used here. Yep, a PG is used here, and it's game. So he does throw the Mimaru there, and then given that he twin drive twin blank there, he just and actually have the Yasui VR here. This should secure the game for him, and actually have the Musashi. Another Yasui Tenma there. Musashi is gonna replicate the Musashi as well as the Tenma. So actually Soul Blasting the Tenma here, and so he can actually Superior Call the Tenma like this. But what I think is a better play maybe is actually targeting the Great One to just give boosters to the field. Okay, he's actually rewinding his move here. Yep, so actually he picks the correct choice now, which is the Musashi as well as the Great One. Not too sure if he still have cards in the deck left, so it's better to always filter cards from the deck to increase the chance of you actually hitting the trigger there. Actually have to Tenma there and drops it immediately. Swings with the Yasui here, which is a 10k guard. Oh, so sorry, the Zangeki actually have a base. Interesting play. I actually forgot about the effect completely myself. Apologies for that. He swings the Vanguard like this. I think hitting a draw trigger there. As well as hitting another another draw trigger, sorry. And then it's game. So we move on to game 3, where Zanpaku actually claim the victory here. He goes first, riding to the Grade 3 Searcher, searching top 5. And misses the search here, unfortunate for him. Now it passes to Yasuda, actually rides the Grade 3 Searcher as well. It's a Battle of the Mirror after all. Searching the top 5, we do see some Grade 3 options for him. And it's actually the Hyuga. Drops the Hyuga immediately. Okay, not planning to use it at all. It does make sense because against Zanpaku, you won't actually have the luxury to keep riding your Vanguard. So, dropping the Hyuga there is a good move, I would say. She rides the Awazu there, actually calling a Central Arrestor already. Very aggressive play. But now he's thinking about what to do. Actually calls the Grade 3 Searcher there. So he's going to do 3 5k guards pokes. And if he doesn't hit damage trigger here, he will actually get punished here. We do see the 5k poke starts. Actually hits the damage trigger immediately and needs to hit the trigger here to punish him further. Doesn't hit anything and the aggro ended there. So he rides to the Spellhound here. Will he be using the skill to counter? Nope. Unfortunate. His list actually runs just 2 Spellhound, thus these 2 Spellhound are actually dead cards in hand. But he's gonna counter aggro him. Actually using the Awazu skill already, which I feel is better if you actually keep it for the Grade 3 turn. But I guess he just want to aggro here. And he actually hits the Yasui there, and then hit the damage trigger from the Zanpaku player, and then passes turn. This is the back and forth. Pressing the Zanpaku here. Getting another Sex Circle and drawing 1. Does he have the perfect combo pieces, which is actually the Grade 3 Daba? Yes, one of the Grade 1 Daba. I mean, one of the Grade 1 Arrestor there, which is a very strong column maker. Using the skill here, most likely to call the the left Arrestor here, which will make a decent column lane with the Grade 1 Arrestor behind. Unless he does go for the Grade 1 Arrestor again. So yeah, he does go for the left Arrestor here, which creates a 32k column, just like that. How balanced is that? So she calls another left Arrestor there. Swinging like this. 15k will be just a 1 pass because of the plus 5k power. No guards here. Twin drive into another left Arrestor and a Zangeki. It's important to have the Zangeki in hand because it creates a pressure against the opponent. Swings the Vanguard like this, which is a 19k power, which will request a 15k guard here. So it's a smart play by the Zanpaku player here because you will deny the double intercept he has on the field. And everything else hit over damage trigger. So now I think informing him that he underguarded. Yep. So he's going to replay his move. Behind is a 29k as well. This is actually disgusting actually. She guts 15k there. Swings for 24k power here. Just 20k gun. This is just ridiculous numbers from the wrestlers. She guards for the 20k and swings with the final 32k power. He does so charge the draw trigger here, but given the amount of power he's hitting, I guess it's only fair. So he actually eats all the damage here and managed to get 2 of the attack, so kudos to him. Rise to the Yasui VR here. Will we be able to see a Yasui explode turn here? Calls the Awazu here. Mulling the one-eyed. Using the Yasui skill already. Most likely is going to target the one-eyed and as well as the Awazu, which you will filter your deck further and then basically increasing the chance of you opening trigger. Spellhound actually goes for the Spellhound here. Interestingly, okay, probably his deck list only run 2 Awazus if I remember correctly. So that's the problem if your deck list actually only runs 2 off. And because Yasui actually excels better if you have multiple copies, at least 3 I would say. So he does swing with the Yasui like this. Most likely he has a 10 mana in the drop zone because of the previous Awazu turn. Does open the front here, pushing, but then he opens damage trigger there, nullifying the front. So most likely gonna drop the quick shoe there. Oh, he's just dropping the Musashi here. Oh, a double Musashi drop. Interesting, but he never caught the Musashi down. But then again, because Musashi requires you to have more red guards than your opponent, that's where you actually start to see the bad things about Musashi. Zanpaku has like 4 red guards already, and you need to have 5 red guards just to use the ability. So he does use a 10 mana like this and swing. And this is 1 pass because of the damage trigger by the Zanpaku player. Checks into a blank here. So now most likely he has to reconsider whether he wants to give him the 3 open counter blast. But he can't deny the counter blast against the Zanpaku player because of the grade 3 double R. So the grade 3 double actually does make Zanpaku more consistent in a sense. So he actually does swing for the damage here. Most likely he'll be throwing the guard here. But actually eats it. So he does have 3 counter blasts now, then Awazu turns, the one-eyed skill proc and then draw 1 because there's 2 one-eyed. Will the Zanpaku player actually go for the Zangeki instead here? No, actually he has a second Zanpaku, so this is confirmed going to be using the Counter Blast 3 lock, which is a full lock against the Yasui. Calls the left arrestor here, using the skill of Zanpaku to call the right arrestor, completing the full lock there. Checking his hand once again, but is for sure the right arrestor here. Yep. Counter blasting 2. Putting the Zangeki into the soul. So that's called the Great Run Arrestor there. Very sick card in my opinion now. And then because the Central Arrestor has not been denied by the Yasui there, it's starting to hit. It's starting to be very annoying in my opinion, especially when it hits bigger numbers. So the pokes is coming and the Vanguard swing for the last one. Vanguard swing for 17k. There's only 1 pass because the plus 5k power from the Zanpaku skill. This is a tough matchup for the Yasui especially actually, because having not able to restand and having not able to ride means your Yasui, you'll be on Yasui Tenma most of the time, and this is not what you want actually as a Yasui player. So he does guard for 20k here with the intercept. Twin drives. Into another double blank, Zanbaku player is not exactly having the best of luck, but the Zanbaku skill does help him. He actually soldiers a damage trigger there, which would actually save him for the upcoming turn. The Central Arrestor actually hitting for 34k power there, which is a 15k guard. And then leaving the last Arrestor, which is hitting for 32k. Ouch, man. Both are requesting 15k guard, even though he actually hit a damage trigger on the Yasui player. Throws the 20k shield there and throws the 15k there. So actually successfully gunning the both attacks. Passes turn. How will he be able to recover from this turn? Given that he can't swing the Vanguard, but he still can use the Tenma skill to clone one of the units. Call the Tenma there. Using the Tenma skill to most likely cloning the Tenma, which he has indicated. Yeah, he does. Calling the Yasui VR from hand. Unfortunate that he can't ride it, which will have secured the game. Zanbaku is such a good counter to Yasui actually. Calling the Great Researcher there. And actually having the Grade 1 double Grade 1 common behind the Tenma there, which is a very sneaky card because he can actually poke with more damage there. And I do see a Musashi in his hand, but I have mentioned before, just because Zanbaku actually have a full field Musashi effect is not exactly online here. So we shall see how you'll play out here. Actually drops a quick shield. Calling the Musashi there and calling the Hue trigger. I still don't see him achieving the Musashi skill here, so very unfortunate for him. Unless the intercepts were forced here. Swing a Tenma like this, which is 15k guard. Nope. Thinking about it, swing the 10k first. Most likely gonna move the Grade 1 common to the front row after this attack. And if the Zanbaku player is not careful here, if he intercepts now, the Musashi will be online. So he actually has to take into consideration for that. So actually intercept straight away, and the Musashi is finally online. And moving the Grade 1 to the front. Swings 5k guard here. Tenma swings for 15k guard here. Bottom deck, the Central Arrestor finally gone. Swing the Musashi first, interesting play. Doesn't hit damage trigger here, and this will be a 20k guard. Actually has a PG here. So what would have been better is actually to swing the Tenma first, and then when at the final damage, then using the Musashi to drop his resource more. But unfortunate for him, the game doesn't end there. You just drop more cards, but it doesn't win the game. So rise to the Zangeki here, and which this card will should have sealed the game because the Yasui player doesn't have any cards in hand at all. Calling a double arrestor in the same column. Calling the Zanbaku there. Swing with the Rainy Madam first for 5k guard. Doesn't hit a damage trigger, very unfortunate. And this should be it. Twin drives. Yep, and this is game over. Thank you for watching till the end, and do stay tuned for the top 4 and final game, which will be showcasing more Zanbaku gameplay.